Hello all, welcome to Hockey on Tap podcast. This is episode 82. I'm your host, Bill Dean. I'm here, of course, with my two co-hosts, Little Steve and Shortcake.
1.5.
We're brought to you by, 1.5. What do you want to call it? We're here brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Sam Wu and myself. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, God, I doubt how to do this again. YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Please leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so kind. Boys, what are we drinking?
Well, we lost Shorts Guy. That's why I say we're up 1.5 co-hosts.
How do I reintroduce him? That's an interesting.
Hey,
there we go. Hey.
All right, good. I just had
fine.
to repress. I just had to repress your thing to put it into step 3 alt. So I'm learning stuff.
Okay.
I'm happy about that. I was like, how do I fix that?
The question is, what did Billy Dean do now?
No, it was not me. You froze. That was.
I did not freeze. Nope, I did not freeze because I was.
Steve,
I was
did
good
he
for
freeze?
a second.
I'm not frozen.
Steve,
I saw a frozen Shorts Guy on the screen.
It was
I know,
a frozen
but
Shorts
that's
guy.
not where I was at the beginning. This is not my fault. The 10 do's and 10 don'ts of Billy Dean's producing.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
We all know whose fault it is.
Man.
You know what? Because he's not here to defend himself, let's blame it on Schwim.
It's Shrimp's fault. Yep, absolutely Shrimp's fault. There's no one else you can blame but Shrimp. Colorado's tied 1-1 now. I didn't see the goal.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it was a nice power play goal.
I missed it. Damn it. All right, boys. So what are we drinking? I know I asked the question, and then all of a sudden Shorts Guy was gone. So we'll ask the real question. What are you having on tonight's?
I got myself another beer by Toppling Goliath, which I freaking love. This is a new Fandango, which
really?
I'm hesitant to even drink this because it sounds like sickeningly sweet, but their Fandangos are usually pretty spot on. This one is Strawberry Shortcake Fandango.
Wow. How many did you get of those?
Sheesh. I got a 4-pack the other day. I just haven't had one yet. This doll of a Kettle sour welcomes you with sweet macerated strawberries, followed by a fluffy vanilla whip middle and a crumbly shortbread finish. So they basically break down the flavor profile to make it sound like you're eating strawberry shortcake. Those aren't the ingredients. Obviously, they don't add crumbly shortbread to the brewing. That wouldn't work out too well. For those of you who want to know what a Kettle sour is, it's one of the easiest ways to sour a beer. And the one yeast that is in pretty much every sour beer, the lactobacillus or lactobacillus, however you say it.
Bacillus.
Yeah, so the brewer adds that yeast to the wort, which is the unfermented beer, before fermentation. More specifically, they add it while the wort is in the brewing vessel called the kettle, thus called kettle souring. And apparently by adding the bacteria at this point, the brewer is able to sour the beer in a matter of hours rather than months. So that's a pretty cool little concept, which is probably why I'm completely blocked. Probably why you see kettle sour beer on a lot of the beers now, because it's just a lot faster to do. And there's my lesson in beering for you guys.
There we go.
Shorty,
I'm going to get a koozie.
What are you drinking?
All right, so this was given to me by, I believe, my buddy and coworker Matt. It's from Frost Beer Works, the Plush Double IPA, and I even opened up my Untapped tonight. The Plush lays a soft mouthfeel and dank juiciness on your palate, yay, featuring a diverse grain bill and Simcoe forward dry hopping with a glamorous supporting cast. Although the glamorous supporting cast is not mentioned.
I feel like mouthfeel is the absolute worst descriptive term for anything.
Yeah, it's bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds borderline inappropriate.
Yes, but it's apparently extremely common when talking about the flavor profile of beers.
I would just like to point out before Billy Dean gets to his beer, hopefully I don't spill any of my MacBook, but I am drinking out of my new
I like
Bowser's Castle glass.
I like it.
Those things are so cool.
I know.
All right. So this past weekend for my football primetime, my co-host AJ Dean. He's engaged.
Not
and
your
he's gonna be
brother.
married in September.
Not your
Best
brother.
What did I
Your
say?
co-host. Your co-host on the Football Primetime podcast.
Yeah, sorry. I said my co-host and brother. Anyways,
No, you didn't say brother.
No, you
I
did
thought I
not
did.
say
All
brother.
right. Well, anyways, fine. He's my brother, and he is engaged and going to be married in September. And so we had his bachelor party, and we went to with Mister Little Steve over here. We went to a
Yep.
bunch of breweries in Queens, in Queens and in Brooklyn, and we went
You're in
to
Queens?
Finback. Yeah, for a little bit. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong. I was doing it to the wrong camera. I went to Finback and went, which is one of my favorite, another favorite brewery of mine. But yeah, I got the orange puffs.
Pretty good. Except it was hot as shit
sour
upstairs.
ale, blood orange vanilla bean. Yeah, it was warm upstairs in the seating area. But yeah, it's blood orange, so it's very orange prevalent with a nice vanilla finish, which is good.
Holy cow.
But
This is
Good.
dessert.
Oh.
It's so
Yeah.
sweet.
my favorite
Was there a
toppling.
line? Was there a line to get into Finback?
No, it was
no,
pretty
it was a
crowded,
little-
though.
Yeah, it was crowded. We took a couple minutes to get a table, but that was good. We also went to what was it, Stroop? No, man, what was that one called?
Something rope, right? Something rope.
Strong Rope.
Strong
It
rope.
was Strong Rope.
Okay.
Yeah, went there, and then we went to a place called Brooklyn Burger and Brew, which was pretty good. Steve had a very lovely vegan burger. It looked tasty.
Solid.
I did
Solid
not.
vegan burger.
I didn't go the vegan route. I went the Fat Bastard route, which is actually the name of the burger. It was a pounder. It was delicious. But yeah, so we had a good time, and congrats to AJ. And yeah, he had a good time as well. So that's always good to know.
He left his mark
Um,
on the streets of Brooklyn also.
One
would say.
No. Poor AJ.
Yeah, he really did. Color the town red. But yeah, we had a good time. So everybody that came, appreciate it. And now we're here. I actually met a bunch of a bunch of guys from. One guy was from England. His name was Ollie. Props to him, and saying hi in the podcast. He and his rest of his mates were from their fantasy hockey league, and they were at the Islanders St. Louis Blues game. They were also degenerate gamblers like myself, so we were all making heavy bets. None of them came to fruition, but that was good. Yeah, so some new podcast listeners, so hello out to them. All right, boys. So let's get to what's on tap for today's episode. Here's a weekly snapshot. I wanted to actually start off with something that Jaromir Jagr did, which I thought was pretty cool. He and his Czech team are helping out the Ukraine refugees by raising money through basically their season finale, which is an 18,000 seat arena in Prague, and they're gonna basically all the proceeds go to the Ukraine fight. He posted on Facebook on Thursday that he wanted to move the game against Sparta from the team's home arena to the larger O2 arena, which can hold approximately 18,000. Kladno plays their home games at Rocket Arena in Chomutov. I know I butchered that one, in the Czech Republic.
Sure you did.
And their capacity is only 5,200. So obviously that would have been less of a money support, so that he moved it. And in support of the move, he received nearly 1,000 responses to the post, and they were sold out at the O2 Arena to benefit the Ukrainians displaced by Russia's invasion of of Ukraine. So it was really cool. Jagr doing some good stuff at age 50. Like we said last week, it was his birthday. Jagr wrote, "I'm very happy to confirm that everything was successful, even in a short time. Everybody bought tickets to help the Ukrainian families, and he was extremely happy." I don't know that I'd have to actually look back and see if he did score or how he did, but he's fantastic, and we love Jaromir. All three of us got to share him on our teams for a little bit. Absolutely a fantastic person to watch, and just what he does in general is he's always been a pretty stand-up guy and hockey player. So Good job on him. So I wanted to. So a couple of things we didn't touch back on last week. We mentioned the Toffoli trade, but obviously them getting the conditional first, the fifth, Tyler Pillock, Emil Heineman. Then there was a Nick Ritchie trade. So I wanted to get a little more into trade details, and that's kind of how our podcast title comes about, the waiting game, and basically kind of discuss, what we think each team that's in a playoff position should do and what we think they need. What's our immediate reaction on these teams? So, I put together the list of teams right now in the playoff hunt, and where they are in the standings, so we can kind of go one by one. So the first one, Eastern Conference, Atlantic, right now the division leaders and your former Stanley Cup champions 2 times in a row, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Mr. Schwim could not be here. I would have liked to have seen his reaction to this team, but obviously they're 80 points. They're second in the East, behind Carolina, who has 83, Colorado at 85, and then in the Pacific, Calgary is 73. But so Tampa, right? They're true, legitimate Stanley Cup contenders, especially with the goaltender, the defense, and that offense, right? So what's your immediate reactions? What do you think they need? Where can they help themselves?
I don't necessarily know that they don't need to make some sort of huge splash and with some kind of big name like a JT Miller or a Claude Giroux or something like that. Although, anybody who gets a player like that is obviously going to make the team better. But I think Tampa really just needs to shore up their bottom 6 a little bit. Maybe, Bogosian's out. I guess Bogosian's hurt, I'm pretty sure. Maybe another bottom pairing defenseman for depth or something. But I wouldn't give up a whole lot. I know that they've been, giving up their first round pick the last 2 years to win the cup. So it obviously has worked. Do they go out and make a big splash for a top 6 guy and then move a current top 6 guy down to a bottom 6, like a third line?
Well, so
to make that third line a little bit, as strong as it was the last 2 seasons? Maybe, but I don't think they need to do much.
No, for reference, their top line, Point, Nikita Kucherov, and then you have Andre Palat. And then the second line is Cirelli with Stamkos and Alex Killorn. So you could move a Killorn down to play that third line role. Right now, their third line, which last year and the year before that was the best third line in hockey with, with Yanni Gourde and Coleman and Barclay Goodrow. Now it's Matthew Joseph. It's Ross Colton, who's the Stanley Cup hero, and it's Taylor Radish. And then the fourth line, you have Patty Maroon. He's going for number 4. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and then you have Corey Perry. So the fourth line,
I actually like that fourth line. The fourth line is solid.
At all.
Yeah.
The third line is
just
really random.
That fourth line has a ton of experience.
And I like
Matthew Joseph line
playoffs.
Yeah. I like Joseph and Ross Colton. I think Taylor Radish is where you could probably upgrade that spot.
Yeah, and even, potentially even move Cirelli down to the third line. I think he could easily play as a third line center there and shore up that.
How awesome would
shore that up, and then bring in somebody like a Claude Giroux maybe if you want to go for a rental. I know that they usually don't go for rentals. They usually pick up. The
a year
big splashes they made have been guys who have had term on their contract, another year left. So, yeah, I don't know. I think if they can solidify the third line a little bit better, I think they'll be more evenly matched with teams like Florida, mainly like Florida. I think out of the East right now, Florida looks. I think they're up there with Colorado as far as being Cup favorite.
Yeah,
and maybe a bottom pairing defenseman. Maybe a bottom pairing defenseman because Schuster just isn't. He's I assume I wish Schumer here because I wasn't sure. I assume Bogosian is their regular bottom pairing guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's hurt, and Schuster was in when they played Pittsburgh. I noticed, and I didn't even realize that Schuster was back on the team. But that's kind of weak. So I don't know if they can get something there too. Maybe a backup goalie, but you don't really need a backup goalie for a playoff push. Unless Vasilevsky gets hurt, and then it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah, that defense, obviously Hedman, Sergachev, top top pairing. You got McDonough, Chernak, who've been solid shutdown. Chernak only 24. Him and Mikhail Sergachev are 24 and 23 respectively. They're nasty. And then that last pairing is Jan Ruda, and then right now they have Cal Foote, who apparently has the largest foot in all of hockey, the largest foot size. So good.
I think
good job, Cal
currently, but he doesn't beat Hal Gill still.
No, Hal Gill with it was an 18, I think it was, right? Because I think
whatever. I could live it.
Chara, huh?
I could comfortably nap in it. I know that.
I think Hal Gill was an 18. Cal Foote right now is like a 16 and a half. He's got a monster.
Now I would think that Chara would have that.
No, apparently Chara's got smaller feet, or not, small feet. I'm sure he's like a comparable 14 or something like that. But
or he might be a half size bigger.
Bogosian on injured reserve. Same thing with Brent Seabrook, also on injured reserve.
Brent Seabrook, he's coming back.
Yeah, I forgot about him. All right, so let's get to our next team. So number 2 in that division, right now sitting one of the better teams, I think, in the league, Florida Panthers. That top line is, I don't know, maybe one of the best when they play together with Barkov, Huberdeau, and why am I blanking on the Panthers? Here it is. Sorry, I'm going through the depth charts and I couldn't find the stupid. And Sam Bennett, but they also have Anthony Duclair. They have Mason Marshman. They have Carter Verhaeghe, who's having a fantastic year. On that third line, Anton Lundell is that third line center with Sam Reinhart on his wing. And then that fourth line, Nola Chari, you have Patrick Hornquist. So, up and down the lineup, they have a lot of talent. The one name that I hear with them now more than ever is Claude Giroux. And I hear Owen Tippett is the name going back the other way, and he seems like a prototypical Philly forward to me. But that they have depth all throughout the lineup. On defense, that pairing of Ekblad and Mackenzie Weegar has been fantastic all year. You have Radko Gudas on the that second line right defenseman with Gustav Forsling, and then you have Brandon Montour on the third line. I think they need defense more than anything. And then goalies, you're set with Bobrovsky. You have an up and comer in Spencer Knight, and then you have scratches like Jonas Janssen, their other backup goalie. So and then I don't know when Joe Thornton's supposed to come back. He obviously was a piece that they had got for that fourth line. Maybe he's an in-season kind of ad. But what are your thoughts on Florida?
Sure, Scott, I'll let you talk about this one, but I feel it is so strange every time I go through this lineup. It's such besides the top line, it's such a random cast of characters from second line down and from like second pairing defenseman down. And you would never think that they would be, maybe you think they'd be good, but this good? They're blowing out teams pretty often. I don't know, Shorts Guy, what you think that they could need. It's just, but I'm still always blown away by just this cavalcade of random pieces.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the same damn thing. It's just like you listen to all the names and you're like, this, like you said, it seems like a bunch of randoms, but they all are coming together. Just as long as Bobrovsky can hold it together, I feel like that he would be a potential X factor as far as if he's, can bring them through with a full playoff run. But they've got some good depth at goaltending there. I think that if they can just keep this up and then go into go deep into the playoffs. I guess my real question will be, if they go deep into the playoffs, will the crowds continue to show up, or at least show up in large numbers? Because they've historically have some of the worst crowds in the league. Will people start to show up if they start getting into conference finals, Stanley Cup finals, if they happen to go that far? And damn,
they are a team that I think they are going to go. I do think that of any team, of any top team right now, they're the most likely to go all in. Them and perhaps Colorado are the ones who are going to try to make the biggest splash just because they kind of have to. It's just this is our first time being a real contender. Well, Colorado kind of needs to, because Colorado is quickly turning into Toronto if they don't start to figure out themselves in the
They're-
playoffs
yeah.
because they've been so dominant for so many years. And, now, being Cup favorite for how many years straight now? There he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, sorry.
Goaltending is
So,
back.
yeah, I do see, but I wouldn't be surprised about like a Claude Giroux type going over there and then them
think
just
that
figuring
wouldn't
out
be
to have their lines. I don't know where you put them, but they can figure it out. There's just, like I
think you
said,
find a
random people
place.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Throw
I
them in
think you find a
somewhere.
place for a player like Claude Giroux who's got a ton of experience and is towards the end of his still a very good player and is his time is running out as far as being able to win a cup. So I think you bring in a player like Claude Giroux, you find a place or you
Yeah.
trade away what his positions you trade back what his position is going to be in that lineup. I sure would hate to be hate to be the guy or guys who get sent the other way
Yeah.
when you're
Oh,
like that
Tippett.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're like I always wonder what that's like. It's like you're doing really well, your team's doing really well. You're like, yeah, this can go, and then on the deadline day, you're like, oh, sorry, we're shipping you off to the bottom of the league. See you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember
That
saying
sucks.
good luck.
Exactly.
I don't recall saying good luck.
No, I mean, I was gonna say if you put someone like Claude Giroux on the wing with Barkov and Carter Verhaeghe, that's an awesome first line because then that just
Mm-hmm.
drops that depth even more. Where you have Huberdeau, Sam Bennett, and Anthony Duclair on that second line, and then you can put Marchment back on the third line, instead of like a Frank Vetrano with Sam Reinhart and
feel like
Anton Lundell, and you have three ridiculous
That's
lines.
the beauty of, I feel like the beauty of Florida is because they are so random, they don't really have set pairs that they necessarily need
Yeah.
to commit to, right? So it's just, bring somebody
Very
in
fluid.
and we'll shuffle the lines and figure it out.
Yeah, very fluid.
Yep.
Speaking
All right.
of, it's 5-0
Num-
Panthers over the Sabres right now.
Poor
Wow.
JJ.
Yeah, poor JJ. Alan, what is the Islander score? Is it still 1-1 end of the period?
Yeah, it's
1-1.
in intermission now. Yeah. 1-1.
All right. Tampa. Number 3 in the spot. Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, a team with top end talent. You think of the Maple Leafs, and you think of Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and John Tavares and William Nylander, and go on and on down the list from Morgan Riley to now their goaltenders and Mrazek and Jack Campbell. You can't do anything with the offense. I think that's what you have. You're going to go in with it there. Maybe you get a depth piece. I think it's defense where they need the most help. You have Morgan Riley, Timothy Liljegren. You have TJ Brody. You don't know when someone like Jake Muzzin's going to come back. And, I just feel like they need that solid step-up presence, a Ben Sherratt or a who was the guy that Tampa got in the playoff chase last year?
Savard?
Left in free agency. Savard, like a Mark Savard type, like a grizzled vet. And I feel like that's what they need. And who knows if they do need a goaltender, because that's the other thing.
That's
Jack
what I was
Campbell's
gonna
not
bring
been
up.
good.
Yeah,
Peter
that
Mrazek's
was
kind of meh.
That's
exactly where
Yeah,
we were
that's-
going. Like, goaltending could do them in. And
Yeah.
Jack Campbell's been good. So for the first half of the season, he's been so lights out. I hope he finds his game again. I mean, I'm not technically rooting for Toronto, but I do like Jack Campbell, and I like his story where he was supposed to be a great prospect, kind of disappeared for a while, and then now he emerged as a Vezina Trophy potential finalist.
Yeah.
Now he's kind of working his way out of that, but I mean, they could shore up their blue line, which I think is really their only immediate need right now, is to figure out a way to bring in somebody or a piece, probably not two, but maybe a piece to shore up that blue line. But in the end, I mean, it could be they could upgrade the blue line, they could upgrade their bottom six, and their goaltending can just do them in if they're going to continue to play poorly.
Yeah, their immediate need is figuring out very quickly what is wrong with Jack Campbell and getting him back on his game, because they are running out of time if they're going to make a move for a goaltender. So that to me is their most pressing need right now, is figuring out if he's going to be the guy or not. And you have 2 weeks. What is it? Yeah, 2 weeks now. Less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 weeks now to figure out, and to get him to figure out too. Be like, just sit him down and be like, "You going to figure this out or not, or are we going to have to go out?" They could always
And
trade
are they
for Mike
comfortable
Smith.
riding Mrazek? Are they comfortable riding Mrazek into the playoffs? They're winning tonight, and Mrazek's in. So,
But is he gonna steal you a series if you need it?
No, I don't think he can. He didn't do it with Carolina.
They
had to go with an unproven rookie. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you bring in someone that's a solid number 2 to serve as a number 3 in case Jack Campbell can't figure it out. Yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, if they can get somebody like that for real cheap, I mean, you're talking 6th-round pick or something. Maybe you bring in. You got to carry. You're going to have to carry 3 goalies on your roster, so that's a wasted roster spot right there because there's no, there's obviously no taxi squad. So
what about
Marc-Andre
Fleury?
I mean, Fleury's going to be expensive, and I don't think Toronto. Well, Toronto already has cap issues, but I don't see Toronto going after a number 1 at the deadline. You never know with Toronto because they need to win now, and they have needed to win now for years. So it's like no splash is too big, but it doesn't make sense for them to go out and just be like, we're getting Fleury for the playoffs, and sorry guys, you had your chance to prove yourselves, and it doesn't matter what you did in the first half of the season, Jack Campbell. This is our new goalie. And how many times? When have you seen that happen? Also, when's the last time or any time that you can think of where somebody brought in a starting goalie for their playoff run?
I don't know that it's ever happened, honestly, and if so, it's been so long ago. I mean, it would definitely.
I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of one.
I'm going to say the closest thing to that would be when Marc-Andre Fleury was replaced in Vegas. They brought in.
They were both there for a whole season. Yeah, they were both there for a whole season.
Yeah, I'm talking about bringing in a goalie at the deadline to take over as your number 1.
Goalies don't really move at the deadline too often, but you're right in saying Toronto's got to win right now. And if they have no confidence in Jack Campbell, they're going to need to do something, and they may be willing to make that move in order to make sure that they have something back there in net if Jack Campbell is just not going to get it together. And if they don't have confidence in, Mrazek to steal them a series, because you're going to need, at some point in your playoff series, you're going to need your goalie to steal you a game or two, potentially to win you a series, or to potentially give you a lead in a series.
Every single cup winner, with the exception of Antti Niemi in Chicago that I can think of, the goaltender was in talks for Conn Smythe, at least in discussion for Conn Smythe. All of the winners, if they didn't win it themselves, they were at least in the argument for winning the Conn Smythe.
Absolutely.
You had Matt Murray in Pittsburgh, both seasons. I know that Fleury and him split in 2017, but Vasilevsky obviously, Braden Holtby in Washington when they won, Binnington, right? Binnington in St. Louis when he was good, consistently stealing them games. So unless you have a team
that win.
Yeah, well, I mean, Niemi in that sense he's like the Trent Dilfer, right? The Trent Dilfer of quarterbacks who won a Super Bowl, who was that terrible. But yeah, I mean, Chicago was that good. They were so stacked that year that they only needed to play okay, and he played okay enough. And that's why as soon as they won, they got rid of him. I mean, that was like one of the craziest things I've seen. Like, you just immediately get rid of your Stanley Cup winning goalie.
I felt bad for him. They were like, they're just gone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then that was kind of the end of his career there.
So I tried to type
to San Jose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I think he went to San Jose from there, and Dallas and Pittsburgh for a brief spell, and
I tried to type in goalie trades for the deadlines the last how many years, and it came up with an article that Down Goes Brown did for The Athletic, and it was the history's best goalie for goalie trades at the trade deadline. So here's a couple goalie for goalie trades at the deadline. There are a couple starters. So Ottawa acquires Craig Anderson in exchange for Brian Elliott from the Avalanche. Obviously, that was a bad trade for Avs. Craig Anderson went on to have a pretty good career for Ottawa. It wasn't really a playoff
Yeah,
necessarily trade.
I don't
but
think either of them were in the playoffs. That
no,
goalie
not
for
that year.
goalie trade.
No. A near miss. So Capitals trading Michael Neuwirth for Yaroslav Halak in 2014, which saw Neuwirth lead the Flyers to a miracle comeback against them in the year's playoffs. He actually beat them in the playoffs, so that was funny. This was a goalie for goalie trade. Andy Moog, who was holding out from Edmonton, he was traded to Boston for the younger Bill Ranford. A trade that Steve will know. A personal favorite. Senators trading Ron Tugnut to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Tom Barrasso, just in time to kick off a cherished tradition of watching their goalies melt down against the Maple Leafs in the playoffs.
I liked Ron Tugnut in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, one of the best trades. Tim Thomas to Florida, from Florida to Dallas. Sorry, in exchange for Dan Ellis. Let's see here. What are the other ones? Steve Mason, who became the Rookie of the Year winner, to the Flyers in exchange for Michael Layton. And then I'm just trying to see if there's any other ones that involved Mike Lewitt for Greg Millen.
But none of those trades resulted in a Stanley Cup, right?
No, I'm just trying to see like the best ones. And then obviously you had, one of the worst trades of all time, Buffalo sending Dominic Hasek, the Chicago Blackhawks sending Dominic Hasek
that was so dumb.
For Darren Pupa and Christian Ruutu. Yeah, not good at all.
Not great.
Yeah, Stefan Beauregard and a 4th-round pick in the 92 offseason. Not good. All right, number 4 on the list, and a team that is surging right now, which I don't like, but the Boston Bruins. Them obviously on a hell of a run. Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron. You have David Pastrnak. That second line. Well, pretty much it's it after that. No, Taylor Hall's had a really good second half, but it's him, Jake DeBrusk, and Eric Haula. You got Charlie Coyle on the third line, Trent Frederick, Craig Smith. You have Nick Foligno on that fourth line. Defense, Mike Riley, Charlie McAvoy. It's a very good first line or first pair defense. You have Brendan Carlo. You have Derek Forbert. And then goaltending situation, right? You have Jeremy Swayman. You got Linus Olmark. Swayman's now kind of the starter. I could see this team needing a couple pieces to be a real contender. And I think one of them's at the top 6. I do think they need one more player in that top 6, especially that second line, to go Taylor Hall to kind of make it a 2-line team. I know they had split up Bergeron, Marchand, and Pastrnak for a little bit there, but I think you want to leave those guys together because they're just a matchup nightmare. And they need a defenseman. And I know that they talked about trying to go for Oliver Ekman-Larsson at the last season, and they were looking at defensemen in the off season. But yeah, I think they need 1 and 1 at least. I think they're 2 pieces away.
I think that more than that, from being a contender, okay. I mean, granted, we'll see how the rest of this half of the season goes, but I mean, so often you see that the teams that go on a run at the end of the season are usually, either make it to the final or are very competitive throughout. So you never know. They hit the streak or whatever, but just looking at the roster, they can add some pieces and certainly do better. But I don't know that adding pieces makes them a contender per se, based on the inconsistencies of this season. So, but yeah, I mean, even in the offseason, I mean, they have needs that they can try to address at the trade deadline, or they definitely have to in the offseason, because they're in a situation like Pittsburgh where their core is aging, and they're actually, with the exception of Pastrnak, they're actually older than Pittsburgh's core. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what kind of big splash they try to make. I know they like to make some noise at the trade deadline typically. But yeah, I agree with you. I think everything from top line down, as far as forwards go, they do need a Giroux type, somebody who can come in and make an offensive impact immediately.
Yep.
Not just like a supporting cast guy who can pop a few goals here and there. They need a guy who can carry a second line. So you have, a scoring top line, a scoring second line. And, without Krejci, they've been suffering. So, and of course, I feel like everybody can shore up their blue line. So, I mean, that would certainly help. But I think most of all, they need to score, and I think their main target needs to be at least the second line center.
Yeah. Short's got anything?
They need
to go to.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was just gonna say they definitely need a couple pieces. It almost feels like if they don't get those couple pieces, they could fall short just by running out of gas. And with Swayman being their number one right now, and him being not a ton of experience, they may have to switch to Allmark at some point if it doesn't go well with him. So I think they have a question mark in goaltending as well. It's not that they have bad goaltenders. It's just Swayman's pretty inexperienced when it comes to playoffs. I think he only has 10 games above this, other than this season, played in the league. So I don't see them going very far unless they really kind of bolster up at the deadline and bring in a couple pieces like, you guys have said. So I just don't see them being too much of a contender.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. All right. Number one in the Metro, the Carolina Hurricanes. That top line, Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, Teravainen. Steve and I were talking about it. So we were a little wrong, Steve. Teravainen's 27, but that line, right? Aho's 24, Svech is 21.
21, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. That
good,
line is
good line.
So good. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Svechnikov plays all kinds of different games. He can get rough and nasty. He can be a finisher.
He's a big boy.
Elite. He's 6'2", 195.
I didn't realize
trying to
his
fight
size.
Ovechkin.
He's a big man. Yeah. That didn't go well, but, props to him.
No, it didn't. Yep. That second line, oh, man, I hate this is just iPhone. I'm trying to I'm going to be in Florida next week, and I'm trying to work the iPhone for the viewers.
Testing stuff out.
Testing stuff out, and it's I need to get a holder for this bad boy. But that second line, Vinny Trocheck, Nakash, and you have Jordan Martinook. You see that third line is Jordan Stahl, Jesper Fast. You have Nino Niederreiter, and then that fourth line, their free agent acquisition, and all the issues with Jesperi Konemi. Seth Jarvis has been a really good player for them. That defense, Slavin, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, and you guys got Derek Stepan's on the scratch list, Brendan Smith. They're at Rangers South, actually, which is kind of funny. The new Rangers South.
Rangers Upper South. Rangers Upper South.
Yeah, everybody
Tampa's
just
Rangers
flocks.
South. Deep South. Tampa's Rangers Deep South. Carolina's Rangers Upper South.
But their goaltender situation, they've done a lot better this year. Freddie Anderson acquisition, Antti Ranta, former Ranger as well. Their goaltending is solid. I think their defense is good. Maybe they use another piece. That bottom six or the bottom pair. What's your thoughts? What do you guys think you need?
You forgot to mention your boy there on Carolina.
Yeah,
Tony D.
I forgot. He's on the injured reserve right now. Him and Jake Gardner.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think they really need anything. Honestly, they're another situation like Tampa and even Florida. I said doesn't really need anything, but they're almost certainly going to. But I don't know that Carolina will necessarily go after much. Again, I think it's the same situation as Tampa. Get somebody a bottom six forward perhaps, and maybe somebody else on the blue line. Less likely though, but maybe bottom six grinder type. A Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow type of player that Tampa got coming back over. That's about it. Otherwise, it's we've seen Freddie Anderson in the playoffs. Is that who we're getting in the playoffs? And if it is Antti Ranta the answer? Yeah, that's kind of the only question mark for Carolina going into playoffs. But
agreed.
Yeah, there's no names that jump off the board that I think that Carolina should go after, really.
Yeah,
or that they have to.
Carolina is one of those situations where if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Right now. And you're right. It's goaltending is the only potential question mark.
This
They're
next
not going
one's
to go
for
after a
Shorts
goalie,
guy.
though. But it is a question
No,
mark.
I know they're not, but
Yeah, right.
that could be their 1 weak link.
Mm-hmm.
This next one's for Shorts guy because I really do want an honest opinion from a local team. New York Rangers sitting second, 77 points. Now, honestly, what do you think about the team? I know you're a Devils fan. I know you don't like them, but I want to know an honest opinion on what you see with this team.
No, I mean I hate to admit that they're doing well. I don't know if they're doing well enough to put a push in or if they're overachieving right now.
It's raining.
It is raining. I don't know if you guys can hear it in my microphone, but it's raining like hell here.
Yeah, I can hear.
I think they're definitely the one place they don't have to worry about is goaltending.
Yes.
Shesterkin is that type of goaltender that can steal you a win in the playoffs or even help to win you the series. This is
where I was going to say. So this is where I wanted to push back a little bit on what you think about the team because Shesterkin is having an MVP Hart Trophy
He's having a hell of a
season. And with that type of elite goaltending, that's where I think that they need to go all the way in. You need to get two pieces. Maybe it's a forward, maybe it's a defenseman, but you need to go all in. You need to go because when you have a goalie playing this well, this ridiculous, you got to reward the team. Yeah. Who knows when it'll happen again? And we're up against the cap next year. So you have like $26 million in open cap space. Use it, right? Trade the assets, trade the picks, trade the lower end prospects. You have guys like Braden Schneider that are doing well on that bottom pair defense role. You have Keandre Miller who stepped up. He's played great. You look at some of their prospects that they have just sitting kind of on the bench a little bit. Zach Jones has played really good and he's a good trade piece. Niels Lundqvist, same thing, and so on and so forth. So,
and you have to go. Another reason to go all in, and not to say that this is going to happen again, but Gerard Gallant is a 3-year coach.
Yeah,
he's great. He's out in 3 years, pretty much anywhere and everywhere he goes. So as far as your window with Gallant is concerned, this is his first full season.
Yep.
With the team, so you got this. Yeah. So you got this season and the next two. If you want to do anything with him as your coach before you have to start potentially getting another coach because he just has that track record of 3 and out. So if you guys are going to make a push, you're going to have to get, like you said, go all in, make your acquisitions because Shesterkin is doing well and he's playing, and you just hope that he doesn't fizzle out when it comes playoff time
or get injured.
I have a question. Here's my question though on this this whole going all in. Just based on who the players who are in the rumor mill, right?
Yep.
Who's worth going all in for? Like if you're gonna now we're talking about potentially getting rentals and stuff, and you have somebody like Claude Giroux who I don't know necessarily that Philly would trade within the division.
They'd have to overpay.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
But like beyond that, you have JT Miller who would be a great because he still has 1 year. I think a year left on his contract. He would be great, but there's rumors that Vancouver doesn't want to get rid of him, and they would be very dumb to get rid of him. They could probably get a decent package back, but I mean there aren't many players like JT Miller out there, so Vancouver would be stupid to let him go. So beyond that, you're going to start everybody at the trade deadline, you overpay for everybody. That's just the nature of the game. That's just what you do, and you just kind of have to accept it. So are you ready to overpay for guys who are decent pieces, but no real name that's really going to put you over the top if you're a New York Rangers team? Or do you just you try to go to a guy with some term on his contract, a decent middle six, something, and then kind of lay low and see where the rest of the team goes because you've been having so much success this season? Or do you just try to get? I mean, are you going to pull a Columbus from a couple seasons ago where they just went out and got every name out there? I mean, I'm not saying that Columbus and the Rangers are the same. This Rangers team is obviously much better than that Columbus team, but you have some of the bigger names. They may not necessarily go. Joe Pavelski may not go anywhere. Dallas may hang on to him for a playoff run. Whether or not they should is another question. But I know that they don't really want to get rid of him if they're going to make a push for the play, and they shouldn't get rid of him if they want to make a push for the playoffs, if they actually want to. So it's just who's out there. Do you want to bring a Mark Giordano over for a prospect and a first round pick, and maybe that'll help you out, but he's on the decline. He's almost 40, if he's not 40 already. But I'm okay with the Rangers making moves. And I'm not a Rangers fan. I'm just worried about this going all in now for guys who just aren't those type of players that are going to put you over the top. I mean, they can make the team better, but I don't think it's like if you're going to do an all-in year to try and win it now, you want to get that big name splash like a Marian Hossa from the past, or something like that, where a guy that's just an elite player that can immediately make an impact on your team. And I don't know if there's anyone out there like that.
So because of cap reasons, this is the only year that Jeff Gordon, damn it. This was the only year that holy crap.
Chris Drury.
Thank you, Chris Drury. We'll be able to do that because next year they're up against the cap. Adam Fox's $9.5 million contract triggers in next year. Mika Zibanejad gets his $3 million raise next year, right? And they're going to be up against the cap. So the only thing they can really realistically do next year is re-sign Ryan Strome or look for his replacement. So they have $26 million in cap space, and I think this is Drury's signature to be like, hey, I'm in it for you guys. Let's do it. Now, names, you talked about it. Pavelski would be the number one. I don't think that's going to happen because it looks like Dallas is in the race, but he would be my number one choice, and I'd pay a first and a prospect for him. The next guy would be. I would too. The next guy
and
would
JT
be
Miller.
Hurdle.
I would do the same. And so Thomas Hurdle, and all three of those guys might not go anywhere.
Well,
that's the problem.
But the problem is with JT
and then
Miller.
You move down the list.
JT Miller has another year on his contract, so that means next year Ryan Strome's gone. So, do you want Miller to replace Strome? Yeah, it's probably fine, but I'm just saying. So
I mean, you can figure that out. If you can land a JT Miller for these playoffs, you're doing it, and you're figuring out whatever in the off season.
Yeah, you figure out.
Yeah. You can figure out Strome and do whatever with whoever at that point. But if you can land a JT Miller or Joe Pavelski, I mean, those are the guys you want for the playoffs. Those are the guys who are going to make an immediate impact, or even perhaps a Claude Giroux. You still might be able to get a Claude Giroux because Rangers and Flyers don't really have much of a rivalry, so the Flyers are just like, if you want to overpay for him, here, take him. But you're going to have a lot of competitors giving obnoxious packages for him. So,
and it's not
those guys.
team,
I would love a Thomas Hurdle. I would love a JT Miller. I would love a Joe Pavelski, and I just don't know if any of those guys are going to be available. And then you just keep moving down to lesser players from there, and you don't want to give up a first-round pick for a Ponikarovsky like Pittsburgh did back just to make that big splash, right?
Alex Ponikarovsky.
Those lesser players those lesser players also could be, serviceable players, and you don't have to pay a lot for as well.
Yeah,
well,
now
that's
for
the
JT
problem
Miller,
is that those three guys are going to be worth a lot of money, but now that those guys aren't available, there's going to be guys who are lower on the list that are going to command just about the same price tag just because they're the top name on the list now. So, the price still stays at an overpayment. But we'll see what Drury can do. This is his time to show what kind of GM he is.
I really do.
Chance.
So for JT Miller, I would think that they'd have to probably – it's not the same team, but they'd have to go to guys like Zibanejad and Kreider and ask if that was, if there's an issue. Because I had heard that there were locker room issues, but who knows? And like I said, it's not the same team. Most of those guys are gone. But I'd definitely be interested in him. There's a bunch of people, rumor mills, saying that they're in talks with Arizona and that Phil Kessel could be a name. And I also heard and now this is Elliot Friedman had talked about this, that the Rangers could go to Arizona and be like, here's someone like Niels Lundqvist and Braden Schneider and a couple firsts, and you give us both Kessel and Jacob Chikrin. And that's interesting. I'd look into that. I mean, it might even involve someone like Keandre Miller, which, that's a tough one because he's played really well. But, I mean, you're talking about one of the top 10 defensemen in the league in Jacob Chikrin, I think. But,
I think
pairing him that way.
I think if you go to Arizona,
go-to guy, so you're going to have to lose a guy.
I think if you go to Arizona and say, listen, we'll build you a rink, if you give us player A, B, and C,
You
I
could play
think
in
you'll
New
have
York.
a deal.
Yeah.
We will build you a rink.
Use
if you
MSG
give us
next
these
season.
3 players.
Yeah. You get 41 games at MSG. Congrats. They'll make more money in a year than they have in like last 5 years total. Quickly some other names that were interesting, at least from a Rangers perspective. I like Andrew Kopp. Not necessarily. He's more like a third liner, right? For defense, I don't think I want to go for the big guys like a Klingberg or a Giordano. If you're going to go for someone, maybe a Colin Miller or a Calvin
I got a
DeHaan, just
defenseman
someone
for you.
that's kind of steady. Yeah, I'd say PK. Yeah,
PK
he's not going to sign
apparently
a
isn't going to get
contract.
traded.
So,
Well,
but
apparently
they said they wouldn't sign him.
He's not getting extended.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not getting extended before the trade deadline. But I believe they did have that conversation with him about potentially being moved if a deal came up, or at least discuss a deal of moving him at some point over the next 2 weeks. So nothing set in stone, but that difficult conversation was had. So
I would say one under the radar name for me, Dominic Kubalik. I think he could be an interesting piece on like a third line. But
Yeah.
Okay. Now on to Esteban's team. The Pittsburgh Penguins sitting number 3. They're tied with the Rangers in points. Rangers have a game in hand. That's why they're ahead technically. But a team that came in and they've done really well. The last 10 games, I believe they are. Give me a second. 6-3-1. Rangers 7-2-1. Both teams just playing really good hockey. Steve, I'll ask you right away. So you got Crosby, Gensel, Rust, and you have Malkin with Kasperi Kapanen and Danton Heinen, I think it was. That third line, you have Evan Rodriguez where he's supposed to play, right? Third line, fourth line. With Jeff Carter, who has played a little. He hasn't been as good of late. Teddy Bluger on that fourth line, Zach Aston-Reese. Your defense, the ever pair of Dumoulin and Letang. John Moreno on that second pair, I like him. And then your goalies, right? Tristan Jarry. What do you need? What do you want? Especially for the playoff run.
So, ideally, they would just need their supporting cast to play like they did in the beginning of the season, because this dry spell of the anyone beyond the first line or the power play scoring has been a major issue. If they can figure out how to play like they did against Tampa every night, then they can beat anybody. So Bluger's been hurt, and I think they've been somewhat mediocre over this last bunch of games after that broken jaw that he suffered from that hit from Brendan Dillon. The PK has suffered immensely from losing him and the bottom lines as well, having to shuffle around. But they can't do much, number one, because they don't have cap space. So they're just not going to get a big name. It's just not going to happen. Do they go out and get like another Jeff Carter type that you just didn't see coming, who ends up being an immediate impact? That'd be awesome. Another guy that you can plug in anywhere from the second line to the fourth line or whatever. But I mean, number one, they need Kasperi Kapanen to figure himself out, because he has such an immense amount of talent, and it just isn't showing on the rink at all. And if he's starting to look a little bit better, and if he can figure that out, then they can figure out the second line from there. But get healthy, get Bluger back, get Jason Zucker back. Perhaps get a guy who can fill somewhere in the middle six. Maybe a depth defenseman, but I mean, I just don't know what they're going to do based on cap restraint or restrictions here. So, wish list. I would love to get some winger for Malkin to just consistently score. So like a consistently scoring second line. Unless Kapanen figures out how to do that, or Jason Zucker comes in and figures out how to do that, that solves that problem. But
we did lose.
I don't know. The roster as is, the roster as is pretty is about as good as it can get, and I don't know how much improvement they can do at the deadline, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. We got it
Yeah,
back.
sorry about that. Power went out for a split
That's
second.
right.
I think they have like maybe a million in cap space to play with
That's what I
at
was
the
gonna
trade
ask.
deadline. So
how's
yeah,
the
I don't
cap
know.
situation? So
Not good. So they can't do a whole lot, and I don't expect them to do a whole lot. I'm hoping for another Jeff Carter type trade that you just don't see coming and ends up making a big impact that way.
So what do you think about your goaltending?
I mean, I love the season Tristan Jarry's having right now. The problem is DeSmith has been okay. I think Domingue has been. He played one game and was awesome. Now he's kind of stuck being that third goalie again, which I kind of feel bad for him. I don't know. I don't think they're going to go get a goalie. I really don't. I think they're going to ride these two. They're going to believe that Jarry's not going to falter like he did in the playoffs. And I think, potentially if they do go out and get another goalie as a security blanket, I think that kind of maybe takes a toll on Jarry's mentality. I don't know if you can rattle Jarry's mentality, to be honest with you, but it's like if it were me, I would be like, okay, these guys don't trust me, so I better not screw up. And then, of course, when you're thinking about not screwing up, you immediately screw up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. If Jarry can play like he's played this season, he's more than capable. If he regresses into whatever the hell we saw last year, then they're in a lot of trouble because there's no one there that's going to save him. But also, I mean, if he starts to show that, I mean, Sullivan's got to know when to pull the plug. And, is Louis Domingue going to carry you to the Stanley Cup? No one would ever imagine it. But, you got to put somebody in there who's going to do better, than what Jarry was. Because even last year they had Legacy. And I was even like, why not try him? It's like this guy's got 30 career games or something over the course of his career. I'm like, just throw him in there. It can't be any worse. But they didn't, and we all saw the end result.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, lost to the Islanders, who should not have won. But I mean, from a fan on the outside of another team that is clearly fighting for that 2 spot, because I think Carolina's going to take the 1. And then it's basically us battling each other between Pittsburgh and the Rangers, for that 2-3. I want home. I want the stadium. I want the home field.
Of course.
And
everybody wants home ice.
No, Pittsburgh scares the crap out of me. I mean, when you have someone like Sidney Crosby on your one line and your number 2 line, Evgeny Malkin comes back and it looks like he hasn't missed a step. I mean, he's got 24 points in 21 games. He's a massive beast. He scored the game winner against the Rangers in a 1-0 shutout. Yeah, and
he's starting to skate better. He's like what when we called you to a steam engine locomotive. When you get going from the blue line, it's that slow wheels are turning, and then you're starting to see
the momentum.
Yeah. And then there's no stopping you. You just barrel through everybody. Yeah. So he's kind of like that's how his progression after major injuries tend to happen, and we kind of saw it last year too. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, cross your fingers, do whatever, that this team doesn't suffer any more of these friggin' catastrophic injuries that they suffer every single year. So get healthy, have Evgeny Malkin continue to improve, have some of these guys find their game, and they can make some noise in the playoffs. It's definitely possible.
All right, we'll go to the last team in the Metro, a team that's slowly kind of moving down the other way. They're going downhill. They were the top team. Now they're the 4th team, 69 points. And even a team like Columbus Blue Jackets is kind of creeping up on the Washington Capitals, and a team that they really do have to watch out for. But Washington Capitals sitting, like I said, 69 points. Ovechkin's tailed off especially with that MVP start. Still has 68 points in 55 games, 34 goals. He's one of the leading goal scorers. Kuznetsov's had a great season. Tom Wilson is, despite being a piece of shit, is, he's got 38 points on that top line. Backstrom is a top end center when he's healthy. They just get back Anthony Mantha. TJ Oshie's still there. Mr. Shootout. You have some youth in that bottom 6 with Connor McMichael, their former first-round pick. You have Lars Eller, guys like Connor Sherry, who Steve knows all too well. Nick Dowd, Garnett, Hathaway. Daniel Sprong's a scratch. Matt Irwin's been injured. Carl Hagelin, they just did their elite third line, penalty killer, one of my favorites. Has an eye injury. He's out for the season. Their defense, John Carlson, Dmitry Orlov, Nick Jensen, TVR, Trevor and Ramsdyke, and then you have Justin Schultz. To me, they need a goaltender, and that's kind of been their bugaboo this season. Samsonov has not been very good. Vitek Vanacek has been okay. Their offense is good. It's going to be one of the elite offenses just because they do have goal scorers. Defense, I think they need help too. And, it starts with that first pair of John Carlson. I mean, they're putting this guy, Martin Feverary, with him, and that can't be who you're rolling out as your top pair of guys. For me, it's a goaltender, and they've tried to trade for Marc-Andre Fleury, and I've heard they've been rebooted in multiple scenarios. So that's obviously a big slap to the face, and I love it from a Pittsburgh fan's perspective.
I had it too, since everybody else signs over there for some reason. Somehow they want every former Penguin or Penguin just because their focus is beating the Penguins. Being the Penguins and be able to beat the beating and being the Penguins is their goal. And that's all they need. If they can beat the Penguins, that's a successful season in their book. I digress.
Yeah, so my actually, I was thinking about this. My lights flickered a couple of minutes ago, short sky, a little bit before yours did. And then I just got a message saying that power in my neighborhood's out. So I guess my generator works. That's awesome. It didn't even, it was like nothing happened.
There you go. Yeah, you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I wanted to turn mine on, I'd have to drag it out of the garage and go hook it up.
And apparently I was watching before Captain Marvel, and apparently the movie now changed to Baywatch with The Rock, where he's getting his ass beat in someone's nursery. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Captain Marvel on the guide.
Okay. Anyways, so, just for Washington before we head out of here, I think that they are one of the more flawed teams in the East. I think that the age has caught up with them. They have not made significant changes to get younger in the, recently, and you could see that other than someone like Connor McMichael. Anthony Mantha comes back. He's 27. He's one of the younger guys. But pretty much, you look at the ages on this crew, 36 for Ovechkin, 34 for Backstrom, 35 for Oshie. Eller's 32. And you have these guys that you keep going down the bench, John Carlson, 32. I just think you're starting to see that age pop up, and I think Steve and I have talked about that a little bit. So,
they're like the only team. They're the only team right now that seems to because we've been talking about this. Playoffs have been set since weeks ago, and they're the only team that seems like we were talking about. There would take some sort of cataclysmic downfall for a team to not make the playoffs, and it seems like they're trying to be that team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So,
and you look at,
they're going to finish. I cannot imagine they sneak
Columbus
into the top three. So they would finish somewhere in the 1-2 wild card, right? And I mean, good luck with any of those Carolina, Florida, Tampa, whoever we end up playing. I mean, those teams are very good. And like you said, I don't know that I don't know what they're going to do at the trade deadline. Are they going to try to make big splashes? Should they make big splashes? I mean, giving up, young assets, right, to upgrade their roster now, that doesn't make sense for Washington at this point. So I hope they do, because I would love to see them bad.
Yeah.
Yep. But I don't know. I really have no idea what they're going to do.
And you look at the two teams that are trailing them with Columbus and with Detroit Red Wings, and there's no one there that they'd have to have a significant ad for one of those two teams, I think, to either catch or to be a significant playoff team. So I really don't think that that's a realistic option.
And not for nothing, my first thought with Washington is they're aging, and then if they're going to lean on Ovechkin, you got to imagine geopolitically every single playoff game, it's not going to be just about the playoffs for him. It's going to be, oh, what do you think? 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 And that's going to that will eventually weigh on him as far as getting away from what his purpose in the playoffs is going to be. So that's going to be a problem. So they may need the bolster just to at least get Ovechkin to deflect, because it's eventually going to cause them negatively in his play if things
like an
continue
actual
the way
leader
they
on the
are.
team, you mean? An actual captain for the team?
Yeah. But you can say that for any of the teams that are leaning on Russian players, that could be an X factor in this playoffs if this conflict continues on.
Good. Yeah.
Because they're always going to be asked, what do you think of back home? What do you think of back home?
Yeah.
What do you think of back home?
I mean, they might. They're still. The one thing that is benefiting is who, because teams only make 3 players available to the media, I believe, and I imagine the team would protect their players and just not
You would think
have them available for comment, because it just, it would be stupid to have them, because reporters are going to ask. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
But even leading up to the playoffs too, it's
uh-huh.
I don't know. That could be an X factor with any of these teams that lean on. I mean, with the exception of Panarin for the Rangers.
Yeah, I'm sure he's.
Yeah,
like,
there are obviously
big FU to the.
Yeah, I think he's doing fine.
To Russia.
But there was an agent that came out and said that a lot of Russian players have gotten, death threats, and the family members, same thing. Which that's
going too far.
We can't have that. And no, I know that it's bad that you start. I start to feel bad for those players, and because they're just hockey players, right? They're not ambassadors for their country. They're just players from that country that come and want to be stars. I mean, Ovechkin aside, I know that he's been very pro, but besides him, guys like Svechnikov, and who's getting, like I said, threats against his family. That's not. Just come on, guys. Like, let's be civil and humanitarian and. Yeah, it's just tough. But
keyboard warriors are
exactly
out there in force.
Some quick good news. Stars Jason Robertson, 22 post second straight hat trick, back-to-back games. Good for him. He was the star of the week. The NHL did a redesign for their Stanley Cup logo. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's basically the cup with the 2022 on it. With you could take it up, look up on ESPN or NHL.com. So they redoing it for ESPN. Lastly, for just stats, because we always kind of discuss it real fast, but the league leader Leon Draisaitl, 79 points. McDavid tied Huberdeau's third at 76. Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, 71. Austin Matthews at 70. The goal scoring leaders, it's Matthews at 38. Matthews at 39. Draisaitl at 38. Chris Kreider at 38, leading the top 3. McDavid's in assists. McDavid is he's so good. Huberdeau first, 58. McDavid second, 50. I'm just going over real fast. Goaltending, it's still Igor, and it's not even close. He's had a fantastic year. He's continued to do that. 942 save percentage in 37 games.
That's insane.
I mean, the guy's
he saved 94% of the shots he's faced this entire season. That is wild.
Yeah. And the next closest is Freddie Anderson, and he's got a 928. He's 14 points behind. You know what I was looking at, though, which was I didn't know this. I was looking at shutouts. Do you know who the league leader in shutouts is?
Somebody has 5. Who has 5?
No, even more.
No one on the Devils.
I haven't checked in a while.
So Tristan Jarry has 4. Ilya Sorokin has 5 for the Islanders. Yeah, Tristan Jarry has 4.
Jarry has 4 shutouts?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if I believe that. Now.
I'm looking at NHL.com. Unless they're lying to me. The number 1 guy has 8. Jacob Markstrom with 8 shutouts.
That's impressive.
That is very good. He's had a great year. I mean, he is another guy. Fantastic. And then league leader in wins is Vasi with 30. Then Freddie Anderson with 29 and Shesty with 28. My Hart Trophy winner. A little biased, but I still think. I mean, without you guys, got to admit, without him, we would be dog shit. So,
that's crazy. That I do find it slightly bizarre that Markstrom has 8 shutouts and isn't the leader in goals against.
No. Yeah, it just shows he gets beat on like where Shesty. I think the most goals he's led in this season has been 3.
It is wind E.
Yeah, well, that's why my power blinked.
Yeah. We'll talk about a couple other things next week. We'll do the Western Conference. Was there anything else I had on my list? We'll talk about Arizona later on. We'll talk about the 500 goal guys. Sorry.
I'll tell you what. I don't know about this new Stanley Cup logo.
You don't like it?
It looks like a soccer badge. No, it looks too much like a soccer badge.
I can see that. Yeah. Well, I encourage everybody to go take a look and let us know what you think. All right, boys. Hey,
quite loud.
The music actually worked. Yeah, it is loud, isn't it?
Yeah.
What the hell? I don't know how to turn it down either.
All right, we'll just say bye.
All right,
Just gonna wave.
375.
Can't hear you.
3-5 for mine. Bye.
Oh,
there
it
it
is.
is.
I turned it to,
Hey.
yeah, 375. 3-5 for
I gave mine a
Shorts Guy.
4.25. It is tasty. It's very sweet though. So approach with caution.
I actually
All right,
checked mine in.
Schwim,
Good job,
take
guy.
her home. Oh, you're not here. Thanks, Schwim.
Nice.